vast as space and as timeless.
And it is one of the greatest TV shows of all time, The Twilight Zone, and definitely one of my favorite TV shows. I actually was a teenager before I ever saw an episode of The Twilight Zone. It was the one where the little girl gets lost in the wall of her bedroom in another dimension. Freaked me out. I was a big fan of the show ever since that moment. And actually, there's just a handful of writers that I've looked up to all my life, and Rod Serling is definitely one of them. So on this episode of Terrific TV Toys, let's look at a couple things from The Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone premiered on October 2nd, 1959. It ran for 5 seasons through June 1964. It was 156 episodes altogether. Some of them were an hour long, but most of them were a half hour in length. There were a lot of common themes to Rod Serling's writing here. Alien invasion was one big theme. Also the threat of nuclear war, and just in general discrimination against people who are different, or sometimes beings that are different. And then the show, you know, it was so well done that it's been redone a few times over the years. There have been several other Twilight Zone series made since the 1960s. So what you're looking at here are 2 of the 8-inch figures from the Twilight Zone that were released by Bif Bang Pow and Entertainment Earth a few years ago. In addition to these, there are figures of the Jason Foster character, the 2 characters that William Shatner played in the episodes, the Talkie Tina character, Willie the ventriloquist dummy, the Canaman alien, even the devil from one of the best episodes of any TV show ever, which was The Howling Man. I love that episode. And by the way, you can catch an interview that I did with one of the actors from that episode on this same BRBTV channel on YouTube. I spoke to this gentleman at the Motor City Comic Con. So love that episode. And then also the Eye of the Beholder episode, the nurse, the sort of pig-faced nurse, has a character, an action figure in this series. And by the way, there was a line of 3 3/4 inch Twilight Zone figures that were released in 2014. So, but these are 2 of the 8-inchers, and we will start with Graeme, my cute little Graeme. This is the Gremlin on the wing from the episode Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. It originally aired on October 11th, 1963. It was one of those 2 William Shatner episodes, and this was before his time on Star Trek, and he played a very nervous passenger aboard this plane. There was some hint that there was perhaps psychiatric trouble in his past, and so he was sitting there on this plane, and he kept looking out on the wing, and it was kind of rainy and stormy out, and he kept seeing this gremlin that seemed to be taking apart parts of the wing and the plane. So he was panicking about that, and it was just so wonderfully done. And this gremlin figure is pretty wonderfully done too. You can see he's got his gremlin suit on, and you'll notice that these Twilight Zone figures are in black and white as the episodes aired, so they're a wonderful tribute. So he's got his outfit on. In the back it is Velcro. And you can see below is gray flesh tone to complete the black and white theme. So his mold is gray, and it says back here, www, let me see, emcetoys.com. That looks like made in China. So that's Velcroed on, and it's just all one piece. It does not have gloves or anything. It's just sleeves. You can see the articulation. He's articulated in a bunch of different places. These are very much like the Mego figures of the 70s. Definitely these 8-inchers are influenced by those very popular Mego figures. You know, nowadays there's a lot of figures out there, as you'll see in my videos in this series. There's a lot of figures out there that are definitely influenced by those wonderful Migos of the 70s. And then also his headpiece here, sort of a cowl or a hood that comes off, and you can see his bald gray head underneath, and then it attaches with that Velcro there. And his head mold, the expression on his face, I think, is just wonderfully reminiscent of the actual character on the episode. The way he's got his expression and the puckering of his lips there. Look at all the dark around his eyes. That is great. And actually, this character, I mean, look at his suit even has that padding for his chubby little belly in front. That's part of his suit. But I think the way that they did this figure, it actually looks better than the Gremlin character did on the episode. Because when you look out on that wing and you see that Gremlin, it's just so clearly some guy in a suit. But this figure, I think he actually even looks better and more realistic than the Gremlin on the wing. So let's take a look now at what is called the Three-Eyed Venusian. And this is from the episode, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? It aired originally on May 26, 1961. This figure is from Series 5, released in 2011, while this figure, the Gremlin, is from Series 1, released in 2010. And there is, by the way, a 12-inch Gremlin figure also. But turning to the Venusian, this is Series 5, as I said, and this story centers around a group of people who are rather trapped in this diner in this snowstorm. There's a bunch of bus passengers who become snowbound essentially because they can't travel, continue traveling on their route because of the snowstorm. And so they're in this diner, they're all hanging out together, and then there becomes news that's spread throughout them of this alien spaceship crashing. And so there's this idea that, oh my gosh, there could be aliens walking among us. Who is the alien? So the suspicion spreads in this diner as to who the alien might be, who the Martians might be. And then, you know, spoiler alert, hopefully everybody who's watching this has seen the episode. There's Martians in the episode, but there also is a Venusian who kind of delivers the news at the end as he shows his third eye. He is the cook in the diner that has been waiting on them and chatting with them through the whole episode. He was played by Barney Phillips, by the way, who's a very recognizable actor and always reminded me of Ross Martin. Gosh, I always got the two of them confused. Ross Martin from Wild Wild West, who I think also did Twilight Zone episodes, if I remember right. But this was Barney Phillips, and in the episode, he was the cook, as I said, and is the kicker at the end of the episode. You know how Rod Serling always had that final little twist at the end. That's one of the things I really loved about his writing. And so he clarifies that he's not a Martian, he's a Venusian, and guess what? We've been here for a while, so, you know, look out. And this figure is pretty detailed. He's got his apron that is removable here and back. He's got sort of this cardigan over an undershirt, a regular white undershirt. You see Velcro here. You also see Velcro underneath on the white shirt. And of course, his flesh tone is gray, in keeping with the theme. So he's got all of that detail of clothing. This little bow tie is attached. And in the back, even his pants, you can see his white shirt is neatly tucked in back there into his pants, which have a snap in the back. So he's got a lot of nice detail and layering here of his clothing. And then his shoes are removable as well. Articulation there. And no socks, but, you know, I would be really surprised if they did socks. You know, like the Oscar Goldman figure that you'll see in another video. So he is pretty well done. A good tribute to that Twilight Zone series. And both of these figures normally sit on my bookshelf downstairs in the Bat Cave as a tribute to that great classic TV that we all love.